at the moment. And then back in the app.js, let's grab the HTTP module and we'll assign it to some kind of variable as always. Let's go with a require and we're looking for HTTP. That's the module name. And the method we would want to use is create server. Again, we'll assign this to some kind of variable. And in this case, the variable name will be server. Then we go with HTTP, create server. And this create server method is looking for the callback. And in that callback function, we have two parameters. And both of those parameters are objects. And since they're parameters, you can call it whatever you would want. But a common practice is calling them rec and res. Now, this first parameter represents the incoming request. So imagine a client is requesting from the web browser your web page. So you'll have information about the method and all kinds of useful stuff in that request object. And the response is what we're sending back. Now, we're not done. Of course, we'll set up more code here. But before we do anything, we also would need to specifically say what port our server is going to be listening to. And that's why we'll go with server and listen. So that's another method. And again, this is arbitrary, but I'm going to go with 5,000. Again, if this looks like a lot of gibberish where we have the request, response, as well as the ports, don't worry. Later in the course, I'll cover that in more detail, as well as show you some useful slides and all that good stuff. And as far as the response, well, we have a few methods. We have write, so we go with a res, and again, this is the object. And notice here how I'm not using the rec yet, so I'm not checking for anything. I'm just concerned about my response, and the method name is write. And inside the write, we just come up with some kind of text, and I'll say welcome to our homepage. And once we have sent back the response, I also would want to end my request. So I'm going to go with res.end. And once we're done setting up the code inside of the callback function, now, of course, I would want to open up my terminal, clear everything, and we would need to spin the sucker up. And of course, the way we do that is node and then app.js. Since that is the file name, make sure that you save it though. So before I run, I'll save it. And then notice something interesting. Notice how we're not exiting. So previously, every time we ran the file, every time we ran node and then whatever the file name, we exited from the file, right? So node was done executing the code and we just moved on. Now, in this case, since we have a web server, well, what do web servers do? They keep on listening for requests. And actually, you want your server to always be up. And of course, if I go to my web browser, and then I'll make this bigger. And if we go with localhost, and of course, in this case, we have 5,000. There it is. We have welcome to our homepage.